So hello everyone, greeting again, and it might be like good morning, good afternoon, or good evening based on your location. I'm in Manila, Philippines, so it's afternoon here. And thank you for such a nice introduction. I also appreciate Pune Tech Community for organizing .NET conference for the community, and this is my first session with the your community. So it's my pleasure to connect with your community. Thank you. Uh, so today we will discuss about clean architecture, and then we will implement a kind of clean architecture solution with the Blazor web templates, Blazor project templates with .NET 7. So as we know, like .NET 7 is officially released on November 8th. So for now we can use the .NET 7 as well in our application officially released. And also they organize this event also to make it like a successful event, and also the discuss about the new features, upcoming activities likewise. Now, for my this session, I'll be covering like what is a clean architecture definition and what is the principle behind it. Also, we will see the diagram and what are the layers comes under the clean architecture. Then I will give a brief introduction about Blazor, which I like our previous speaker Sundaram also gave a good insight about the Blazor and also its implementation with MAUI, which is another like advantage that is going to add for if someone is developing application for multiple platform like Android, iOS, Window, or like Linux environment. So, and with that, I'll try to design a quick clean architecture solution with the Blazor app. Within this time frame, like I won't be able to implement all the standard practices. So for that, what I will do, I will add some recommendation at the last, like what are the things that you can add with that solution to improve it. And also I'll implement repository pattern with Entity Framework Core 7. So let's begin. About me, like I'm Rijwan Ansari. I'm an application manager at Tech1 Global. Uh, with that, I'm a Microsoft MVP, also the MVP in C Sharp Corner. I'm also a certified trainer. I love speaking into community, writing tech blogs. I'm also a trainer and YouTube. So you can follow my blogs, reset.com. So let's begin with our session. Clean architecture. So like the core idea behind the clean architecture is like to make the solution a bit of more flexible, and it should be ready to cope up with the latest technologies and changing trends or changing in the activities. So with the minimal changes we should be able to use the same solution instead of creating something from the new. So that it suggests like to keep our core of the application that consist of our like entity or like applications logic, or like some we call it service layer or business logic layer, independent upon front end database and external frameworks. So that when we are changing our application, let's say front end, we can completely use those our like a core application that we have developed, writing like entities and business logic, those. Also, like if we are changing the database with the minimal changes, we will be able to use all the solutions that we have already developed. And even if we are upgrading it, we will have a less difficulties. Earlier it has a say given several name. It was called as like a hexagonal architecture, onion architecture, vertical slice architecture, domain-driven design, or domain-centric architecture. So it has got a several name, but the primary idea or the core part is, or the concept is same. So the concept is to keep the application and domain at the center of the application, independent upon front end and databases or like external frameworks. Like we never know like the way the frontage or like database is changing, we might take decision to let's say today we are using Angular, we might take decision to use Blazor for the next release. or even like we take decision, okay, we are using SQL database, let's use MongoDB or NoSQL also, because these days things are changing so rapidly. So we should design a solution in such a way that we should be able to cope with those changes with the minimal changes. We can do some optimization or some changes in our code, and we should be able to use that decisions, we should be able to implement those changes. So as I said, the basic principle is the core application, which consists of entities and business logic, should be independent upon the front end UI. Also, it should be independent with the database, independent with the external service, agency devices, or like external APIs, external storage, and it should be also independent with the framework. And the best thing is it should be testable. We should be able to test it without affecting the core business. So if you Google, you will find numerous diagram about the clean architecture. All those architects, those diagram try to give the same idea, like what is the main logic or main concept or main uh, idea behind the clean architecture. So among them, like this is one of the my best diagram that I feel like it's shared by Uncle Bob by Robert C. Martin. So this gives a pretty much good idea how the applications or the diagram or the architecture should look like. So here we can see, like let me just take out my mouse. Yeah. So here we can see entity at the center of the application. That's why we call domain centric or domain driven application design. So entity at the center, then it is referred by like use cases. Then at last, it is covered by controller, gateway or presenter, and UI web devices are at the external most outer part. So which means like your entity has no any dependency. Use cases depend upon the entities. Controllers, presenters, or gateway, those are depend upon the use cases. And again, UI web, these are how they are using this controllers or gateway or presenters. So you can see the dependency is following from external to internal, which means like internal has less dependency or there is no any dependency at the entities. So that's how like these business entities are covered by use cases called sometime we called it application rules, or like sometime we called it services, or like some we called it as a features likewise. So those are again covered from controllers, gateway, and at the last we have a DV and UI web, those things. Now here let's say if we change any of these component, we are keeping the core part as it is. So that's the what benefit we are getting from clean architecture. So the main principle is this one, like you try to make your core part as much as flexible and less dependent with the external or UI or database, so that it is ready to cope up with the changes. So if we say the current application development approach, mostly we use two approaches, that is like three tier and clean architecture. There are several other approaches, but these all approaches are coming with these two architecture. So if we see entire or three tier architecture, we have database, data access layer, then business logic layer, then UI is there. Maybe we can organize the application in a different way, but if we are following this three tier, the concept is this one. So data follow from UI to business logic to data access layer, and then it goes to database. So here data access layer is referred to the business logic, and business logic is lastly referred to the interface. Now if you do any changes in your database or data access layer, obviously your business logic is going to affect, because this application is data access layer is referred to the business logic layer. Similarly, if we do any changes in the business logic layer, it will also affect the interface as well. Now how it is a bit different with the clean architecture. Now the clean architecture, if you see, we put entities at the bottom, and on top of that, we build application logic and use cases. So what will happen, like now your application is like whole use cases is using the entities that are independent with any project or any framework. Now with this, now we can use this from interface, from infrastructure. Now if we want to use external services, that infrastructure will communicate with those external services, like file storage, or like if you are using Azure Blob Storage, or like if you want to use some third-party software or services or web services. So those all we connect through the infrastructure. And infrastructure is again responsible for communicating with the database. But we are not referring infrastructure to the application. Instead, we refer application to the infrastructure. So this is what the clean architecture said, so that you can make your core part independent of UI and infrastructure. Now, core application, what are the things we normally, these are not limited to this, but these are the general things that we include under core application. First thing, our all the, you know, entities and enum will be here. These entities and enum are like our core, entities. Then we have all the interfaces. We try to put more all those interfaces into application layer, so that we can implement these interfaces to any of the layer, and we can make this core part independent. Now we have our all the services, or we called it managers, or like sometime we called it providers. Likewise, some shared functions will also come under this one. Common part, common things that we use in our application, or common helper classes, that also we can include on under like application. We also try to handle the exceptions. Those are handling mostly these business layer applications, errors, exceptions. We also use validators, event handlers, guards under this core component. Infrastructure. So infrastructure contains of DB context repositories. Anyway, like repositories interface are on application layer, but we implement it here so that we can make it as an external communication. So we can use any database without changing the application. Our external services, APIs, email, SMS, file system, SDK, we all keep under infrastructure. UI. So since we are making this as an independent with the core part, so we can use any UI. We don't have restriction that, like we can use ASP.NET Core, like MBSIP one, or like Blazor, or even like if we can use Web API. Likewise, we can build any presentation layer, and also we can implement API with the front end different frameworks. Like if we want to use Angular, Vue.js for the front end, that also we can do. We can use Razor Pages, and we also include some filters. But there are different approaches as well. People sometimes they include their API models, or like sometime view models. So that depend upon like your design. Even you can put that DTO in your application as well, or even in the web API as well, because those are only used as a data transfer object. So those things you can do that way. Now we will today we are gonna implement clean architecture with the Blazor templates. So I'd like to give some idea about the Blazor. So the background is like these days we have lots of a wide range of platforms, technologies for the web development, and which creates a kind of a bit of chaos. People deciding which framework to use for web development. And to develop a complete web application, you need two different skill, that one is backend developer, and another one you need the front end developer. So both developer comes with a different skill set. Backend, one of the most popular backend we use is C Sharp and .NET platform. So you need a guy who know the .NET platforms, .NET and C Sharp language. Now for the front end, we have several options like uh, if you see the populars are like even people use Angular, Vue.js, JavaScript related frameworks. So and even MVC applications we use, but those are not complete like client application. It use server rendering as well. So now we have always like to get up kind of good experience. We need a two skill set like to use a spa templates. Also like we need someone who know more JavaScript or like more front end frameworks. So to overcome this one, like Blazor is one of the best choice, so that you can use same skill set, same person to do both front end and back end, which means like you can we can use our C Sharp knowledge to build a complete framework with the sparse single page application. So in short, like what I can say, Blazor is one of the web development platform based for .NET family, and it provides the flexible to develop both backend and frontend using same language, that is C Sharp, with a smart template. So if you want to know more about like how to develop the Blazor web application, I have shared one of the link. Like I have put a bit more exploration. So in normal when we are developing any web application, we use JavaScript to control all the activities in the front end side. But here the best thing is like we can write the JavaScript, sorry, C Sharp instead of JavaScript, that will be running on the web browser using WebAssembly, and it is also like you'll get the same flavor that you are getting with the JavaScript. And with that you will have some advantages also, like when we write JavaScript, we have to write lots of JavaScript to do the simple stuff, some simple validation, or we try to use lots of JavaScript libraries or plugins. So with the use of Blazor, you will overcome with those of libraries, because you will be able to write your logic with the C Sharp and in the front end itself. So that's the one of the main advantage. It comes with the two different template. One is for server, one is for WebAssembly. Oh, it has both has a different purpose. First thing is like Blazor server operates on the server side, like ASP.NET Core applications, and it handles the user interaction over a Signal R connection. Whereas the Blazor WebAssembly, you can run as a ASP.NET Core hosted also, or you can run it as a static files without the need of server-side rendering. In Blazor server, any change in the DOM content generate the server, and it gets automatically update via Signal. With the WebAssembly, even you can develop a progressive web app. The advantage with the server, Blazor server, is that you have a better accessibility, or like you can easily access the network and server. Whereas the Blazor WebAssembly, it do the interaction with the data over with the standard HTTP service. Can benefit like server can benefit with the distributed application operation in the data center, and whereas the WebAssembly, it's a client native, it can take the advantage of client native your processor speed. Now I'll be designing a solution, that clean architecture solution, one demo. So that demo, I'm gonna use Blazor and .NET 7 Entity Framework Core 7. I'll use code first approach. I'll also use automapper to map our entity with the DTOs, and I'll use repository pattern, generic one, and SQL Server database. So let's begin. Uh, Let me open my environment. I'm using Visual Studio 2022. Mhm. So I'll create a new project. You might experience slight slow because I'm using one of my VM. I just restarted it. Let's create a new project. Then we'll choose a Blazor server app. I'll give one example with Blazor server app as well as WebAssembly. So because most of the things what I will do, uh, I'll reuse most of my code. So .NET 7 now it is already a standard term support is there. Like our earlier organizer they said. So okay, let me first go back instead of I'll create first a blank solution so that first I'll focus on designing the clean architecture. So just to align with some of the standard, we will create a core folder. Then we'll add another folder infra. Then post. Now core part we need to add like first will be our class library. First we need domain because this is the center part of our application domain, or we called it entity. Let me delete it. Now what I will do, most of the things I will just copy from one of my sample. So I created two folder. One is common, one is master. So common I put like common that thing we need for entities, like let's say base entity, auditable with entity, base entity. Also I have made it a bit of dynamic, like which kind of base unit ID. Like ID you can define either integer or like uh, UID or like long. Likewise even a string, and IOD table is there, so that these are the common fields that we need for like auditable purpose, like is deleted, created, author, modify, editor. So these are the some things that you can put inside the common. That and then I created two entities. One is app setting and reference field. So this app setting, it is using auditable with the base, which means like we have already these fields. And with these fields, we have a base entity also. So base entity, what we have defined in app setting is integer. So which means like our primary key will be the integer. So our domain we can define like this. Now another thing I can recommend, like when we define the model, just you define your model and create a folder based on your use cases or like features, so that your model can be easily grouped. So this is my domain. So this application we will not add any references. This is the core. So now we will add another part is um, application. So application, I will refer our entity. So domain will be refer here. Now after domain, we are not going to add any reference project in this application. So let me delete this one. And here also what I will do, I will copy most of the part. So first let me copy the common part. So common part, what I have done, like you can write error handling methods here, like common exception handling or error message log capture. Then we can define all the interfaces here. So this is application DB context, and then iCurrent services, our repository interfaces, unit of work. So, but with that, I need some reference supporting libraries as well. Let me add those those NuGet packages. So for this application, I gonna use AutoMapper, and also dependency injection. I want to put the application dependency related abstraction within this class library. So let me first add those nuggets. So I need first is I need entity framework core. 7.1 is already here. So let's use this one. Then I'm gonna use AutoMapper. And also I need the dependency injection of this AutoMapper. It's then I need dependency injection abstraction. This is the one. And sometime we need units of JSON. Yes. Now, my core part, like I said, I have the interfaces. So since I use those libraries, let me check some of the classes already using entity framework. If we need current user in our application, most of the time we need it for like editable purpose or some different purpose. We can define the interface here, and we're gonna implement this into another class. And also like I have a repository one, so I'm using generic repository. So I have just kept all my repository related uh, definition here, and then unit of work. Now also I have used AutoMapper profiling. for mapping my view model with a database model, or you can say entity. So still my view model is missing. That's why it is error here, because since I copied the entire class from one of my existing application, actually existing demo. Now let me copy another class, service class. So the common contains all the common things I need. Even I have defined some common models like Clover variables, response model, or user model that I need common for other services. Now I created one of the master use case. You can define separate your services based on use case or even based on the features likewise. So I have used the DTO also here. So I will explain a bit later like why I'm using DTO here. Now I have my application service. That application service I'm using unit of work, logger, and then mapper error. Now I'm with this I have a constructor. So all my interface are used here. This is I have used custom error logging. Now my application setting like I have a command like upsert that will do insert and update both, and delete is also here. So these are command, and queries are like all app setting and get by ID. So these are the functions I have used for app setting, and I'm returning a common response so that it will be easy for me to know all the cases I'm giving common response model. Now I need to have a dependency injection here also, so that also I will just copy. You can actually add this dependency injection in your front end as well, but I think since we don't know, like if we want to change the front end sometime, it will create another dependency, so better to add the front end class here itself. Sorry, dependency related all the things. So all the dependency of this class will remain within this. So I have a scope like I have did dependency injection of application service and also automapper. So these are the two dependency injection I have available in this service. Now, now you can see like our domain is there, which is independent. We don't add any reference, no packages. Application is depend with the domain, and we are using some packages for the tool, but we are not depending upon external services. Now I will define our infrastructure. So let me add infrastructure class. Infrastructure. With infrastructure also, I will copy most of the class. Let me copy from, yeah. So first what I will do, I will define my persistence. Yeah. So let me give you a bit. So now you can see I have some common interfaces. I application DB context, which is already interface is here, but it is implemented in the external library, so that it is not we are keeping it a bit it independent with our application. So interface is there and we have implemented here. So now if in the future want to change it, let me first complete the NuGet packages. So for this NuGet packages, what are the packages I need? Yeah. manage NuGet packages. Yeah. So here also I need entity framework core design. So I need this design because I'm using cost first approach, and also you will use SQL Server database. So I will use SQL Server. I need this tool also. Then I need some time we use some configuration. Let's say if we want to get some application, let's say app setting related data or application configuration. So we might need to get some, configuration variable as well. So for that, I will use configuration environment related configuration environment variable. Then I need configuration file extension also sometime. We read it. We'll read configuration JSON. Now again, I will use dependency injection of this one. With I'll put all the dependency required for this infrastructure within this class library. Yes, so my all, let me double check whatever the things I need. Yeah, all done. So my all that, now I need to add the reference of application here. Yes, now our all the errors are gone. So let me explain like application DB context. So we implemented it here. So here also what I have done, like while saving, like since I use IRD table, so every time I don't need to get the current user email or like current time, I can directly write this a loop, like whenever we are doing any changes in the entities, this information will update automatically. So when we are adding it, we need all the four information, and when we are modifying it, we only need the editor and modified it. So that we can do. And my data set DB set are here, applications and references.
It is one. Sorry to disturb you. Can
Okay.
you please increase the font size in Visual Studio so that code will be readable?
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you for reminding. Yeah. Is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, looks fine. Good. Thank you.
Thank you for reminding. Yeah. So now we have our DB context, and also I'm getting current user, so that if ever I need the current user, I can get it from my front end mostly. So this is my DB context class. Now I have a entity framework repository, which is implementation of our repository class. So here also, like I have defined the application context and entities, and I have used all our repository implementation. So this is a generic repository, so I'm using T. Uh, Different person use different way of implementing it. So this is one way that I'm doing, but there can be several way of implementing it. Even I have seen like many times like some people don't go for generic, they use your repository pattern, but they create a repository interface and implementation for each of their entity. So that's also okay. It depends upon the how they organize the project and what is the scope behind this. So most of the my project, like with generic repository pattern, I am able to do most of the things. But sometime even we use edu.net also in some of the case, like if we want to get something for report, or this day even with entity framework you can easily run a store procedure. But performance, sometime if we have to load huge data, so sometime we face uh, some delay with the entity framework. But as I know, like the latest entity framework code is much faster. And I have added some configuration here. So configuration means like for my entity, if I want to provide like some setting while updating into database, like let's say I have like applied like a reference key max length 100 and is required max length. So those length and required field you can define here, so that when you will migrate into your database and update it, this setting will be applied there. Similarly, I have applied for references. It is required and max 200. Even you can define your, foreign key, primary key relationships. So your table relationships also here in the configuration. And these configurations are being called here somewhere. Let me check. Yeah, apply the configuration from assembly on model creating. So this is my persistence now. With that, I will add, let's say, a few more class. For example, I want to do configuration extension. So sometime we write configuration extension to get the data, our app setting related data. And also I have applied a lock capture here. Like I have my own lock capture, like I try to put locks into some of the text file so that it's easy for troubleshooting. So let me copy those files also here. Okay. Yes. So now my dependency injection of this is also here. So I am using like I need configuration to get the app database connection string, and a scope for like my application DB context, repository, unit of work, and error message log. So for which I have put a separate error implementation so that I can write those into some of the log file based on layer, class, methods, error time. So it's easy for someone to go and check the file and get the error easily. Even we have option like if we are using cloud services, we can use Azure App Service. It has its own log analytics and some many features are there. Those also you can use. So with this now our clean architecture is ready. Now we will add the host. So now host you can add anything, like even you can add um, ASP like web API or like Blazor server, Blazor WebAssembly. It doesn't matter because this part remains as it is. So first I will start with the Blazor server. Web app. So here HTTPS. I will not. I'll go the default options. Yeah. So my Blazor app is ready. And about the Blazor, our previous speaker Sundaram, he has already shared like we have a Razor app um here. So these are the things. Now I will not explain it again. Now what we need to do here now. This application will refer our few of the application as few of the class, like we will refer our application here, infrastructure here. Mhm. Now you can see like what we did here. Um, Instead of uh, referring infrastructure to application, then application again to web, we did we added this here independently and this independently. Also, our application is not getting any reference from other than domain. So, and domain has no any reference. It is independent. So now dependency will follow like from like let's say external to internal, like web to app, or web to infrastructure, then app to domain. So which means like our application domain is in the center, which is covered by our use cases or like business logic, which is again covered by infrastructure, and then our web, or like even we can develop we can add web API application here likewise. But I have to now do some configuration here. Since I added my dependency injection, I need to register in my web app. So let me register it. These are the default. Now I added my few, I registered few services. So current user I need to implement somewhere here. A class. I use here because most of the time we get user from front end, because we might implement uh, some authentication method. So I'm using it here. So most of the time we get user from interface. So now here, this is my application related dependency injection, which is here. So this is my application. So application related all the dependency injection and service registration I'm doing here. And this is my infrastructure. So this is here. Persistence. So here I can use DB context, entity framework, and even if required, if you are using some other like configuration extension or blob-based storage, those things also we register here and we implement it here. It can have an interface in application, but implementation will be here. So now we are almost ready to test it. So let me add my uh, connection string setting. So I'll copy one of my connection string. This is my local database. Let me check my database whether it is on. So let me save and build the application. Yes, perfect. So it is built. Now what I will do, I'm not able to open my SQL server. I'm trying, wait, I have another screen. I'm trying to check SQL server. it's opening so that I can actually run one quick migration and run the demo as well. So since it is opening, meantime, what I can do, I can write some logic tools and also define some UI to save the data. So let me come here. I'll create one Blazor page, app setting. So here also what I will do, I'll create one master. My use case, I have used master. Under master, I will add one uh, page. Sorry, I'll use Blazor component and app setting. Now our app setting page is here. Let me just build it. My database is almost open, so I'll just create one. Let me just update the database in my connection string. So let me show you my total connection string. This is one of the error you might face, so because of which we're gonna add at last, like sometime with the recent release of SQL Server also, by default the encryption is on. So because of which we might face some error sometimes. So we make it enable false by default. Now what I will do, I will add migration to add migration. I need one library here. Let me just add those that one library. We need a CRUD design uh, in our front end. For design. Now I will choose my infrastructure, add migration, initialize DB. The domain reference does not contain. Maybe this error come because my default project maybe it is consider getting domain. So let me set this as a startup project. Set as a startup. Now if I run this command again, yeah, it created my migration class. Now I'll update the database. Yeah, my database is created. Let me just show you the example. Yeah, here is my database. Now let me refresh it. So our two tables are created, and also like our column, the way the length we define and not, so those requirements that we give here in configuration, whatever the like whatever the changes we want to make, that we can make from this configuration here. So with this configuration, whatever the setting I have applied, those also coming here. Now let me now create one app setting complete. So what I'm going to do, I'll just copy from one sample I have. So now I am calling my app setting service, and this is my path route. Now I'll change this into H4. First, I will try to run one time. Let me check my time, how much. It's almost 56. So just I will try to quickly show the demo. Um, I might take more time. So I'll just paste it one of my class, so that at least I can show at least one demo. Mhm. Now I will run it. Nandip, let me know like if I'm going over time, so that I will try to conclude my session.
No, please take your time. No problem.
Yeah,
We still
thank
have
you.
10 more minutes, so no issues. Even if you overrun, not an issue.
All right, thank you. So I run this application. Uh, so I'll just run my app setting. Yeah. So my app setting. So since I have some time, I can explain it. I just injected my app setting service that I have defined here, and my app setting. What I'm doing, sorry, interface is implemented here. So let's say for get all, simply I'm using unit of work, common repository. I'm passing app setting entity. I'm not. I'm doing table no tracking, order by reference key and get list, and those the response I'm getting. I'm just using automapper to convert that into like app setting view model or DTO, or sometimes we called it as a like front end models. So it is here now, uh, and here the thing is best advantage, like since I can use all my validation coding, let's say like for example I can use app setting VM, so I0, so I can write even like my C# code and condition everything in the interface like a JavaScript. Not even JavaScript, mostly like Angular. Like with Angular also we write all the like if condition everything on the front end. Even we bind the model directly here. So my VM like view model I have defined here. So I my view model is here that I can directly bind with my interface, like text is here. Even if I have a validation things, I can apply those required field and everything. It will handle directly from that. So we can bind that object directly in the interface, and we can use that object in our like save. Our load, everything, those object we can reuse. So this is one of the advantage. Like now we can write our C# code directly on the interface, and that will run as a web assembly. So it means like you will get that JavaScript experience. Like even here also, um, if I click, it's a single page application. And I have let me just get app setting also. Now if I add, let's say, one of the reference is uh, blocks enable, so value is, let's say, true, and description for manual blocks, and it's a boolean value. So it is saving within a few seconds, and it's already saved in our database also. So within a few seconds, like we did not even feel that, because it's a single page application. So even if you see here, yeah, it's already saved. It's saved recently. And author, I have put initiator because I have not implemented any authentication. So for, but here, like in this solution, like I have put here in my DB context, like if you have a real, let's say, like initiator, you can get that initiator ID and send it directly to the database. Now, so same thing, like let's come to Razor. So now even for like this is, I'm using page load. This uninitialized means I'm getting all the things in my table. For save, I have used save. Even I can write my all things. I can display warning. So I'm using common response model so that I can check every time if my response is success, I will show my output, else I will display the error message on the warning. So this is how it is. Now if I want to edit it, I'll click. Now it change into update. So this update, like for that we are writing the code itself in the here. If the VM or like view model is having ID more than 0, it means it is already saved record. So it will show update. And if it is 0, then it will show the save button. So this kind of, C sharp and condition you can directly write on the interface itself. And all the things is quite easy here. So I update manual log enable, and I update it. It got warning, means maybe something wrong, it could not update my record. So that's how I can directly play with the interface itself, whatever the things is happening. Now let me refresh it again. Now if I want to delete it, just I click the delete. Maybe this delete is having some issue, so it can be because I have just created some sample. I have not tested all the function, so delete is here. And my record also, like I'm showing on front end. So here also I can directly use my list and bind it directly from the interface itself. So this is how I have done for server. For client, I'll just give you one simple sample because I don't have that time. So I'll just use one of my existing application, not existing, just I created another one sample yesterday. So this is also the same approach. All the things are same. We have interface, application, domain, and this is the Blazor WebAssembly. So when we create a WebAssembly, it creates 3 projects: one for client, one for server, and one is shared. So that shared you can use for common objects that you want to use in the front end as well as your backend. So WebAssembly, the advantage I said, like you can deploy it independently. It doesn't require server. So here server, I'm using this as a web API. So my app setting web API, I'm using same like earlier I used Blazor. Now here also my entire thing will be same. Only thing is I need to implement that inject that interface, and I can build my API. So this also like client, I will communicate like I have created one master's, let's say, manager so that I can handle it easily. So here we communicate with the HTTP request. So I'm calling HTTP get all, and based on my success, I'm binding the things with my response model, and I will pass my response model to the now interface. So here also my interface, if you see, I'm using same interface here. There is no any change in the UI. Only the thing is there is some changes here. I'm using managers to save, and those managers are here itself. So our front end is completely independent with the web API server. So this is another approach that we are using for WebAssembly. So that's how like we can implement actually clean architecture. The code thing is still same. There is no much change. Only for the front end part we are using Blazor. So Blazor we can use Blazor server or Blazor WebAssembly, anyone. So that's how we can create our complete applications, clean architecture, following the clean architectures with the Blazor. Now I'll be adding some recommendation that within this short period of time I could not capture with this application. So this is one way of designing the solution, but it is not necessary that it is only the one way. Like designing clean architecture, you can follow different way. You can organize your class, your libraries in different methods or different way, but we need to make sure that primary principles or the core principles is same, like your core application is independent with the front end and the infrastructure or external services. And this day like to get better maintainability for code for future, and also more responsive, faster, implement CQRS. This is also one way, like it gives better experience with the clean architecture. And another thing, the entities that we use for the database or like core entities, we should not use any frameworks there, even not any data annotation. Like if you want to make it, let's say required or column width, we need to define that into the configuration of infrastructure. For validation, you can use Fluent validation. This is also one of the popular and used library when we validate any view models. So this Fluent validation mostly we use for front end or like let's say data validation. We should organize our services and entities based on use cases, features, or product features likewise, so that it will be easy for you to manage your if the application is complex. Domain events, this is also one of the things that we should implement. Separate DTOs from the view model, this is one of the main thing. Like sometime what happen, people they implement the solution, but they use our entity class, which is the core entity or database model, into front end also. So we should not do that. We should try to use separate view model or API model which is different from the core entity, because sometimes you might expose some data which is not required for that user. So, and also the test cases, like we did not implement here any test. So it's with dependency, like we should implement test, and test should not depend upon uh, with the less dependencies, and also it should not affect your application. Blazor we use Blazor is we use like default one, but Blazor comes with the several component framework like Ant Design, Blazor. So those also, if you use, you will get a good user experience, and most of the components are already designed there. You can reuse those components. And also like I use same Blazor to write the HTML also, and C# for that Blazor. But if your C# code is too much, you can separate that with the partial class that I think Sundaram also told earlier in his session. So that's how you can do it. And here are some references which you can follow. Like in my blog, if you go, like I have wrote several articles on clean architecture. Even there are several videos. With Microsoft Learn also, they have lots of good articles for clean architecture and practices. Also in Microsoft, there is a sorry C# corner. If you want to know the more detailed concept, you can go there. And Robert C. Martin, the diagram I used, that also give a good explanation. There are some good videos in the YouTube by Drills and also Jason Taylor. They have also a better video for clean architecture that also you can follow. So I'll be happy if you have any questions.